Going to card shows is one of the best parts of the hobby. Today, I'm going to recap my journey to a small local show that I've been to sporadically over the last few years. This time was a little bit more successful, and I got some more insight than I ever have. This was much a busier show than I've ever been to at this location as well. So lots to share, lots to recap. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy, 90s Beatball Cards here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, a little bit TikTok. I even did better getting stuff on TikTok than I did here last week. So today we're going to talk about a local show that I went to, and again, like I said at the beginning, this is one I've been to a handful of times over the last few years. Last year there were pretty much no shows near me, so the only show I got to was the National, and this is the first show I've been to since the National in last summer, if you can believe it or not. There was another show that I was planning on going to. It's a little bit of a COVID scare, some all kinds of stuff, so I didn't get there. So this was the first one of the year, but the first one since National as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and at the end, after I show you some of the cards and the pickups and some of the stories of how I got them, I'm going to share with you some of the other insights that I gleaned, and that's one of the biggest parts of going to shows, is talking to other collectors and the dealers and getting insights from them, hearing what they're seeing, hearing what they're doing. All of that is such an important piece. You can get some of that online, but there's nothing like getting all of that really compact in a few hours and being able to have some back and forth. We can have some back and forth in person that we can't have online. So we're going to look at the cards first, and then I'll share some of those insights. Let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm actually going to go in a little bit of reverse chronological order. Not that it makes a big difference in the telling of the story. But so the first thing I got here, some wax, some 90s wax. So this actually isn't for me, unfortunately. So we got a box of 99 Flair Showcase. These are football cards, hobby box. So this is actually for my buddy Joe. You've seen him on the channel. We've ripped open some packs. We've done live streams together. Childhood friend of mine. Whenever he stumbles upon wax, usually at retail outlets, he is a hawk trying to find any sort of retail products that drop. He always lets me know, and he picks them up for me if there's anything of interest. Haven't been too lucky with things that I like for basketball. But I saw this, and he had just opened the same type of box, 99 Flair Showcase football, and this box was almost half the price of what he got the other one for, and the other one was a fair deal. So when I gave him a call and told him that I found this, he said, please pick it up for me. So this is actually the only thing that I actually spent cash on. So not a lot of cash had to come out of my pocket, which is great. And it wasn't even my cash, it was his. So, or he was giving me the cash back, regardless of the case. This is going to be a fun rip that I'm sure he's eager to get his hands on, hoping that he gets some crazy fire, maybe even a Brett Favre for me, who knows. But yeah, hopefully he does well with that. So really cool, a good deal. And this dealer also had some other boxes that were all kind of football boxes, some 90s, that maybe the next time that I'm there, if they're still there, I might pick up some more and you'll be able to see those. But not a lot for 90s basketball for us to rip together, unfortunately, but that's right. We keep hunting, right? So that was the last thing I picked up on my way out of the show. So the next stuff I picked up, a few different cards here. You can never just do one when you're at a booth, right? So going to start off with the first thing that caught my eye. So this Barry Bonds, this is from the EX 2001. This is the Hall or Nothing. Ironically, the timing of getting this when he missed out on his last ballot to be a Hall of Famer, but in my opinion, he already is. He already was. So this is one of those sets that I heard Gene talk about from Arena Designs, and how they made these, which made me that much more interested in getting one of the players. So I've been trying to get either a Barry Bonds or a Frank Thomas, because those are the two guys that I liked growing up that were in this set. And this one was in a dealer showcase. He had a sticker on it, $30. I know because I've been looking that was a fair price. They sell sometimes a little bit closer to the $20 mark, but $30 again, like I said, it's a fair price. It wasn't a bargain. So I knew that I was interested, and this dealer had some incredible 90s stuff, a lot of football and baseball, but some insert sets, some Ken Griffey cards. He had a Brett Favre that I was very tempted to try to make a deal on, but try to stay focused on my main PC. And this was an insert that I knew I had been wanting to get, one of the few baseball 90s inserts that I wanted, and there's no basketball parallel, so or component to this. So something I knew I wanted to get. And then he said, well, why don't you go and take a look at my bargain bin and see what you can find. He had everything in there is $3 or get 2 for $5. You know, the typical, the more you get, the better the deal. So I found some other cards that were of interest to me. Reggie White, Topps rookie. He had a few different copies. This is the one that looked like the corners and the edges were the best. None of them were terribly well centered. You know, so I love Reggie White. I love him as a Packers fan. And I always had wanted to get a rookie card of his. Just wasn't something that I'd ever prioritized. So here was a good opportunity to get one in a bundle deal. You know, so happy to do that. I got 2 copies of the 87 Fleer sticker of Charles Barkley. So this is his second year sticker, essentially. You know, so he has his rookie card, if I can get my words out, in the same year as Jordan, 86-87. So I know that this is a prominent one for Jordan. And I've got a couple other copies of the Charles Barkley, but something that I like getting these older stickers, something very, you know, nostalgic. And they're in different conditions, these two. You can see one is cut much better than the other one. I don't know if I'll grade either one of them, but I might. We'll see. Then there was also the same set. He had a Kareem sticker. This is one that I have another copy of that I've been debating whether or not I want to get that graded as well. So for a couple bucks, I knew that was a very good price. You know, so each one of these so far that I was finding in the 3 or 2 for $5 bin, they sell for about $5 to $10 individually. So I knew that these prices were very, very good prices that I was happy to get. The next one we had in that same bin was the David Robinson prototype from the inaugural season of Skybox. You might be more familiar with a prototype of Jordan, which sells pretty well, especially when it's in good grade. And that's definitely one that I had my eye on, but I knew that there were a couple others. And David Robinson, he was one of the bigger stars and one that I was happy to get. So I really enjoyed David Robinson growing up. And then the last one I got was the Silver Signature or Signature Series. It's a rookie or a kind of a collegiate card, even though Kevin Garnett didn't go to college. But this is, you know, whatever you want to call it, kind of like a collegiate card would be now. But this is a parallel with his silver script, one that I had coveted as a child. So something that I was very excited to get, again, at a bargain price. These don't sell too frequently, so pinpointing an exact value on these is a little bit difficult because they can go from anywhere between $1 and $10, depending on how good the listing is, how good the pictures are, how good the condition looks, all that kind of stuff. But really cool there with him in his USA jersey when he played on the under 18 team. And I love that USA jersey because it's also the same jersey, of course, that the Dream Team from '92 wore. So lots of fun stuff in him. Blocking a shot, you can see his incredible vertical leap and you know, very long reach is on full display, blocking a shot there. So really cool stuff for Kevin Garnett in his very early days. So that was actually the second stuff that I picked up. We need to talk about how I got them, right? So, like I said, $30 was the price on the Barry Bonds. The other ones he priced out and said that he wanted to see what I had in my box for trade. So, looked through what I had and pulled out 3 cards. So, the cards that he had pulled out, there was a jersey card of, it was Carl Yastrzemski, another one of a Yankee that I can't remember the name of, Hall of Famer, but I don't know why I'm blanking, but I'll show you the card anyway that I can't remember. Clearly it was one that I, you know, really held near and dear to my heart. And then the other one was one that I've had since I was a kid. I had traded for, again, with my buddy Joe. It was a gold finest refractor from '96 of Mitch Richmond. And Mitch Richmond being a Hall of Famer, that card still doesn't sell for a ton. But really cool, very hard to find if you're a collector trying to complete that set or whatnot. So anyway, so he took those 3 cards for for the Barry Bonds and everything else that I had gotten, even trade straight up. So very happy. And, you know, he was completely honest. He was going to flip those cards. You know, wasn't sure if he was going to grade the Mitch Richmond or not, but the centering on that wasn't perfect. So, you know, not one that I think really warrants being graded, but you never know. He seemed like a guy that liked to grade a lot of his stuff. And the only things that he had that weren't graded, he just hadn't sent off for grading. He's waiting for some more $50 PSA submissions, he was telling me. So more on that later. So the big pickups of the day were from Rob, sports card therapist. Had a long chat with him. So 2 penny patch cards, national treasures, something a little different you're probably not expecting to see from me. I really do just focus on his 90s stuff. But so, like I said, Rob and I, you know, we're having a lot of chats, sharing a lot of thoughts, and that might show up on his channel. I know that he likes to record a lot of his experiences as a dealer set up at shows. So, you know, who knows what will make the cut and what won't. But yeah, we were chatting, and he wanted to see what I had in my box. He went looking through. Found a couple of Brady cards that I brought with me, a Flair Tradition rookie, as well as a second-year Flair, which is what Flair Showcase had turned into, is just regular Flair. So that being his second year, and it's the first Flair card of Tom Brady. You know, pretty prominent cards, and Tom Brady cards, as you probably can imagine, are selling pretty well right now. So he said, hey, you know, I'm looking for these, but what would you like for trade that I have in the case? So, you know, we figured out the value that he was putting on those 2 cards, and I went hunting through his case for something of similar value. So, saw these 2 pennies. He had just posted them the day before on his Instagram page, and I gave him a hard time for you know, encroaching on my lawn of penny. But so, you know, all in good fun there. But I said, okay, you know, I got to know what you got on these. He usually prices out all of his stuff, but these were very recent acquisitions for him, so he didn't have price tags on them. So long story short, he said, you know what, take those 2 cards for these 2 Bradys and we're even. And to be completely honest, he was giving me a sweetheart of a deal, you know, and I really appreciate that. So, you know, these cards are, in my opinion, worth more than those 2 Bradys. You know, not by a significant margin. It's not like he gave me, you know, double the valuation, but, you know, he definitely, you know, gave me a better deal than what, you know, he could have gotten for these otherwise. But that's what the power of relationships are in the hobby. So really cool. These are my first National Treasure cards I've ever had in my collection. And they are the first jersey cards of Penny in a Magic uniform that I've ever had. Obviously not the playing days, because those ones go for a ton. And someday I'll get them. But until then, these are really cool pieces. Love the pinstripe, that black pinstripe. But I also really love that collar, or you know, some of the trim work on the other piece, you know, numbered to 25, and I can tell from looking at this that this is a trim piece from the home jersey, even though he's depicted in the away jersey in that. And then obviously the other one is numbered to 99 and is him in the away jersey, and he's depicted in his blue alternate. It would be really cool if Panini had matched the jersey that he's wearing in the picture to the jersey that they have the piece of. Not necessarily like the exact piece that he's wearing, you know, game match, but I'm just saying the same coloration. But, you know, that's me getting a little bit too specific. But really cool cards, you know, and like I told Rob, getting my first National Treasure cards and them being a penny and a deal from him, you know, lots of memories now tied to these cards. So really cool stuff. Really appreciate the deal. And these were the first cards I picked up, and the ones that I liked the most.
All right, so that's what I picked up. So a little bit of the rest of what I experienced at the show. So this was the busiest I have seen this show. Not that I've been there every single time, but I've been there a few times throughout the years, and it's only gotten busier and busier over the last 3 years or so that I've been going. And the other thing, the first time I went, I was pretty dismayed. There was very little basketball, barely any 90s, if any. Most of it was football and a lot of baseball. Vintage and modern for baseball, and pretty much just modern for football. So not stuff that's really in my wheelhouse. And this time going, and I've been seeing it kind of shifting in this direction a little bit gradually over the last few times, but it was predominantly football and basketball. Mostly modern. There was still a good chunk of vintage baseball there, a little bit of modern, but I saw more 90s basketball than I had seen in the past. Again, nothing that was really hitting me. You know, I saw some cards, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Grant Hill, saw plenty of Jordans, but not necessarily the run-of-the-mill Jordans. The last time I had gone, which was probably almost a year ago now, the Jordans I was seeing were pretty much just base, you know, 97 Hoops base, 96 Skybox Z-Force base, you know, some 97 metal, you know, stuff like that, you know, is great if you're looking to just kind of get into some Jordan cards, but not stuff that's really going to get me too excited. But the stuff I was seeing this time was definitely a little bit higher, you know, more sought after, a little bit less seen, a lot more stuff of it being graded, some of it still being raw, so a lot more stuff for me to really enjoy. I love looking at vintage baseball, but it's not really stuff that I'm looking to buy, you know, and the basketball stuff that I got actually wasn't even 90s basketball this time, but stuff to look at. And whenever I see a little bit of 90s basketball, it always makes me ask the dealer, hey, what other 90s do you have? I'm looking for Penny, Iverson, Kevin Garnett. And the first guy that I saw that had some 90s told me he left his box of Penny inserts at home. So I said, hey, next month I'm probably going to be back here. If you don't mind, I'd love to see what you got. So he's planning to bring that. Hopefully he remembers to. And I'll see what he has, and maybe he'll have some great pickups there for me. You know, only time will tell, but I'm very optimistic, probably a little bit too optimistic, but you know, time will tell. He had some good stuff, and actually I was going through his $5 bin, and I found a Jordan famous nicknames I put aside to get, and then at the same time Joe had called me to pick up the box of Flair Showcase, and I went over to go do that, and by the time I had done that, the dealer noticed that I was looking at the famous nicknames Jordan and realized that shouldn't be in the $5 bin and put it in his showcase, because it's closer to a $20 or $30 card. So a deal I was gonna pick up, something I've, you know, I like that card. I've liked that card for a while. You know, so I shouldn't have put it back. I should have just grabbed it, because that's a prerogative of a dealer. If you know that you underprice something, you can always reprice it. You don't have to wait until the next show. So that's one piece that I saw, is just kind of the stuff that was there. Like I said, it was very crowded, so I was thinking of trying to do a little bit of recording, or you know, maybe try to do a little bit of a vlog, which I've never been terribly good at, but you know, I always try my best. But it was just too crowded to do that. You know, this really only has 3 aisles to go down, and it was very often I was asking people, you know, saying excuse me, asking or waiting to kind of make some space to be able to move to the next booth or move around. You know, definitely just like at National, you're kind of waiting your turn to go and take a look at some of the stuff in the showcase, or you might see stuff from afar, but they're making a deal, you got to wait your turn. You know, so stuff that a lot of us are probably used to if you've gone to shows in the last year or so. That's just kind of the run of the mill now, but makes it pretty difficult, especially with how tight the corridors were, to film or get any sort of, you know, valuable content. So I figured this recap is probably the best we could do, considering. So some of the other conversations I was having, really a lot of stuff I was seeing there, more so than the prior years, were graded. Most of it was PSA and SGC. Hardly any BGS slabs in the entire building. There's also very few, if any, HGA, but there were a good amount of CSG. So one of the first booths I went to, talking to some of the dealers, they were actually saying, both of them were saying that they're considering not submitting to PSA anymore, which blew me away. They said the prices are just too high for some of what they are looking to send in. It doesn't make sense. You know, basically you can't get the return on your money. And getting into those $50 submissions is too difficult. And ironically, we were talking about our experience, and they were also telling me that they were trying to get into those $50 submissions, and both only got into one. So they got 5 spots in one of those, even though that there have been 4 or 5 of them at that point in time. And that's the exact same experience I have had. I've tried to get into every single one. The first time I had success, every single time since then I have not. So interesting that they had seen the same thing. I'm a little bit more patient, but I'm also not a dealer trying to move in inventory. They are. So they said that, you know, I assume that they're saying, okay, we're going to go with SGC. They said, no, we're thinking of going with CSG, which blew me away. And they said, look, we trust these guys. We like their grading. They like their slabs. That's not necessarily a popular opinion, but some people do. And they said that they think that those are going to start catching on a little bit more with what is happening with the other grading companies. So interesting there. They also said that they think that there's going to be more consumer confidence because eBay is using CSG to be that, I think they're doing the authentication through them. So they think that there's going to be some more consumer confidence with eBay partnering with them. So time will tell, but I thought that was very interesting, very surprising. Not necessarily my thinking on the matter, but clearly there are those thoughts out there. The other thing that I was talking to some other people, again, they were talking about PSA, they were talking about SGC, and they were saying SGC is really the play. First of all, most of the people I was talking to said they like the look of SGC slabs better, and I've been saying that as well. I've got some behind me, I've got some in my collection, so I like the look of those. I have liked the look of those for a while, but they were also telling me that they've been seeing the price gap between SGC and PSA get narrower. Not that they think the SGC is going to catch up to PSA, but just that it's getting closer and closer. So what was, maybe half price is creeping closer, and they were anecdotally saying, some numbers, but you need to do some market research to really be able to hone in on what the percent gap is. But they were saying that it's closing, and consumers are becoming more and more comfortable buying cards that aren't just PSA. Obviously, if you're talking about the top tier stuff, people expect that it's going to be PSA. But at that point, you probably don't mind paying the charges that you're going to have to pay to go through the top tier grading company. The other piece that I was hearing a lot of people say is disappointment with what they're seeing from BGS. And I definitely share that sentiment. I think BGS is great. I think their slabs look great. I trust the company. I trust their grades. Not necessarily everybody agrees with me and my feelings on BGS, but I love a good BGS slab. And people were saying that they think that it is just a criminal act that, their customer service isn't better, their marketing isn't better with their graded slabs. I mean, a BGS 10 or even a Black Label 10 is superior to any other 10. I think that most seasoned collectors would tell you the same thing. But they don't tell you that. They're not touting the LeBron James that just set a record in a BGS 10 Black Label, an all-time record for that card. So stuff like that really should be getting promoted by the grading company that would benefit from that is not happening. Their turnaround times are, very cloudy and murky, but longer and longer. There are people that I've heard that have had cards with BGS for grading for 18 months. They have no idea where it is in the process, and they don't know when they're going to get their cards back. That's not a fun experience. And that's one of the reasons why, for me, I've got cards I would like to send to BGS that are in my collection, that are going to stay in my collection. I would like them BGS graded for my collection. But I don't want to be apart from these cards for a year and a half or longer. So until they get those times in a more reasonable fashion, I know myself and other collectors are also deterred from sending stuff in, especially when it's going to be PC. You don't want to have to pay the exorbitant charges to get an expedited grading process. So it's unfortunate, so a lot of conversations around BGS. So if you are from Beckett, you're hearing this, I'd love to chat with you and see what, the collectors can do, or what ideas can be shared. I think that it is, just a fumble. And I think that Beckett is a very strong grading company if they can get some of these simple things fixed. So those were some of the insights that I was hearing, some of what I was seeing, really overall very optimistic stuff. It's when you go to shows, it tends to revitalize you. Some of the drama and the nonsense that you see online, some of the things that, maybe are seeming a little bit too far out of reach, all of it seems a little bit more real, a little bit better, at least for me. It gets you energized. So that's what I was seeing. Hopefully, if you stayed on this long, you enjoyed that. But the other thing is, this show was in Enfield, Connecticut. And I, at this point, unless things change, am planning to go and set up as a dealer. My first experience as a dealer, and I will set up with Rob from Sports Card Therapist. Again, if all goes according to plan. So, if you are in the New England area, please consider that it's the first Saturday of each month. So this was the first Saturday in February. So this will be March that I'm planning to set up. I will share more about that as the day draws closer, assuming that everything, again, stays consistent and no big changes. But if you would like to come, check it out. I think that would be a great, fun thing to do. I'd love to meet you and talk to you. So check out that show if you're in the area and you can make it. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. New videos dropping once, sometimes twice a week. Looks into my PC, box breaks, collector interviews, and so much more. Thanks. We'll talk later.